Welcome, everybody, to the Thriving Lives podcast, to our weekly Wednesday Zoom call. Tonight's topic is one that I kind of decided on last week. So I've had a lot of clients here recently. It seems like when it rains, it pours, and I think that's applicable to really almost every area of life, whether it's good things, bad things, whatever. One thing that I've been having a lot of clients deal with recently are things like, breakups, job loss, having to move, no deaths, thankfully, at least nothing that's been like in the forefront of clients' minds and stuff like that. But that's obviously always a thing as well. So, I'm definitely not a therapist by any means. I've had my fair share of loss and breakups and things of that nature. Life changes, like just leaving teaching. That's a good change, but it's still a change that I've got to kind of navigate and prioritize getting things in check. So we're going to kind of talk about, some of those negatives because, when we have things like that, when we have a death in the family, death of a loved one or someone that's close to us, the end of a relationship, even if it's good that you are broken up with that person, that's still almost like you're dealing with a death. And there's, grievance that has to go in with that, and just change of routine and getting used to brand new stuff as well, or getting used to just not having that person around. Job loss is a slightly different thing as well. And there's, obviously more financial stress that kind of comes along with that. But so when these things happen, we don't really need to dive into each individual thing because I think they all kind of collectively bring about some of the same emotions. What I notice when people are struggling with this stuff, and that's why one of the questions on your guys' questionnaires is always, how do you handle stress? First off, do you have a very stressful job, stressful life? And how do you manage your stress? Majority of people do not handle stress in a very healthy way. Some people will eat a lot. Some people will drink a lot. Some people will smoke a lot or turn to other drugs and things like that. Some people will exercise enough. Some people will exercise too much and use that as this outlet for stress. But now they are overtraining and just doing way, 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 way too much, which can sometimes be actually, it's counterintuitive, but it's countering what their goal is when it comes to fat loss and things like that. So, everything in moderation. That's something my dad always preached to me growing up. Whether that is, it could be anything, alcohol, drugs, whatever it is, everything in moderation. And the same thing with food. I look at that, I apply that same principle to, junk foods, to sweets, to pizza and stuff like that. Is I love all that stuff just as much as the next person. And I probably appreciate it even more because I have it so few and far between that when I have it, it's truly a special thing. Whereas if you're just used to having pizza every Friday night, it's not that special. It's just part of what you do. So I think I would go so far as to say that it means more to somebody who does it on occasion versus somebody who does it on a weekly basis. So, I absolutely love food. That was one of the reasons why I kind of got into, working out like I did, because I was like, I want to be able to eat a lot of food. But also I want to look good and feel good as well. So that's kind of, my meat in the middle there. So I'm consistent most of the time and I have that stuff. But kind of coming back into what this topic is though, how do we handle stress when it happens? One of the things I try to provide a lot of empathy during these tough times, and be an ear for a client, allow them to vent or to just share whatever their struggles are at this time. And that's another perk to checking in, is that if you might not have other places that you can kind of share that information and be vulnerable, and the more you can do that with me, the more that, number one, we can build a better relationship, which then allows me to coach you better and allows you to really invest into what we're doing here together. So that's always crucial. Don't ever message TMI, this is too much information and stuff like that. If it's crossing a boundary, I'll let you know that, but there's, that's kind of hard to do anyway though. So, share that stuff. But ultimately what I always want to ask a client, and what I want you guys to think about right now, is when you have some of these negatives, is when you let go of all your other priorities. Let's say you have a death in the family, and now all of a sudden you are using food or alcohol and things like that to soften the blow, to give you, that short-term gratification, that short-term happiness that only lasts for those few moments. Is that always compounds your stress when you are using these negative outlets as a way to band-aid your whatever the problem is. You're just making that problem worse, because that problem is still there once you sober up. That problem is still there 5 minutes after you finish whatever tasty food you wanted to have. But now you have, on top of that, the compounded thought processes of, oh my God, I just like completely ruined my diet for the day, or maybe the week, depending on what it is that you did. Oh my God, I just binge drank, whatever the case is. I haven't worked out in a week or two because of all this situation. Everybody grieves a little bit differently, but either way, we always want to tread water in the worst of times. We don't ever want to just fully let go. It's way, way, way easier. And you're going to be so much more thankful to yourself if you were able to maintain and tread water during the absolute worst of times, because there is light at the end of the tunnel, and there will be better days, and you will get to that. And ideally, you're probably going to get to that sooner if you continue to prioritize what makes you feel good anyway. And not feel good in terms of the unhealthy things, but feel good in terms of, hey, my digestion's on point, my energy's on point. That's when you want to kind of circle into what are the things that matter to you now that you can actually control, and not let it totally get away from you. I'll pause as I come up with a little more thoughts on this, but does anybody have any thoughts, questions, struggles that maybe you go through with this? How do you handle stress? Is in a positive, negative way? I'm just going to take a drink. You want to mute yourself and let me know? Don't feel pressured either.
I just like that you said, like, it's okay to tread water. Like, because when you kind of get that all or nothing, like, yeah, I can't if I screw up one, like,
Yeah.
you don't have to be perfect all the time, especially if you're going through something like that, but just don't give up. That's like how I took that. So that was good.
That's 100% correct. That's another thing too. That's one of the kind of the things I would like to talk about with clients when I'm onboarding them to get a better understanding of them is, if you're an all or nothing person, then during those bad times, whatever stresses that you're going with, you are much more likely to probably fall off. You're probably not maybe you're not thinking, hey, I want to eat like shit this week. Like, nobody's thinking that going into the week. I just want to eat as bad as I can. But you didn't prioritize the meal prep, which is what's going to allow you to eat healthy that week. Or you didn't, order your meals from your meal prep delivery service. That was a very small thing you had to do. But if you neglected that from yourself, now you get to Monday and you get to Tuesday and you're in survival mode. And when you're already stressed, now you're in survival mode, you're already sad, or whatever the case is. When you don't have the right meals or the right foods already ready to go in your pantry or in your fridge, whatever the case is, even in the best of times, and you had the very, very best day ever and you're not stressed at all, you're still much more likely and more inclined to make a more unhealthy choice, make a quick grab and go choice from fast food or from whatever your places that you're going to go to. Whereas when you have that stuff ready to go, because you still prioritize that need. That's why, meal prep or ordering your meals that's going to be one of your top priorities. Because if that does not get done, that is just a domino effect on everything else, because now you're eating like shit all throughout the week because you're just living in survivor mode, whether you're under eating and you're just not eating at all, or you're missing a lot of meals, or you are eating, things that are just not good for your digestion, which is going to be pretty much any fast food stuff, a lot of processed foods and stuff like that, which is what people would go to with that. And now that is now affecting your digestion. Now it's affecting your energy. Now it's affecting your sleep. Now you don't feel like working out. And even if you do work out, it's probably going to be a lackluster workout anyway, and not, you feel amazing about it. So notice just that one neglection of not meal prepping because you just didn't feel like it for whatever reason. And that could happen on a good, easy week anyway, is that now you've just set up this domino effect for the whole rest of the week. So, that's got to be prioritized with it. And then, treading water is, hey, if you're used to 5 workouts a week, maybe you only get 3. Shit, maybe you get 0. Now, I think it's safe to say that, hey, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling a little bit sad, the endorphins that will be released from you just getting some exercise will definitely help you. But I also get it. Sometimes you're just going to say, fuck it, I'm not going to go to the gym. But that's when you need to focus even more so on your nutrition, on getting good sleep. We don't want to let it all go just because one thing is off. And that's why we have to sit here and we have to rewire our minds, our brains and the way we do things. Some of us here are 20 years old, some of us are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. And, those of us who are older, obviously, we have a lot more years that we have to, that our brain's been wired a certain way. Now, that doesn't mean you can't change. It just means you have to work at this stuff a little bit more than maybe somebody who's younger and doesn't have 30 years of being stuck in their way with this stuff. But we have to rewire our brains like that. And so we have to look at, what can we do to tread water and maintain and not let it all go, because I've seen this many, many different times as well. I've been doing this for 7 or 8 years, worked with 500 plus clients. So I've definitely seen it go the opposite effect. I've seen a lot of people, especially earlier on in my coaching career with this, they have one of these bad circumstances happen. Then they stop checking in. I don't hear from them for a little bit. I'll do my reach outs and stuff like that. Still not hearing back from them. And what happened was whatever bad thing happened, now they've completely lost their diet. Maybe let's just say they lost 30 pounds with me before said event happens. They lose control of all of this stuff, and they just, they throw this pity party of themselves, and maybe they only intended on that pity party to be a day or a few days or a week, but they never got back on track. And usually the reason why they didn't get back on track is because they stopped checking in. They stopped being accountable. They stopped reflecting, because it's easier to just go through life, ignorant to what it is. And if we don't stop and reflect, it's easier to kind of navigate the waters and just keep doing, shitty things for yourself when you're not really thinking about it. But when we actually force ourselves to stop and reflect and be accountable to ourselves, be accountable to me as well, you're much more likely to stop with that. But so kind of back to it, this person loses 30 pounds, then this bad thing happens, they stop checking in, and now they've lost, they stop prioritizing workouts, they stop prioritizing meal prep. Maybe they had friends and family around them that wanted to cheer them up. Well, how do really everybody in the world, but especially here in America, but I mean, this is worldwide as well, is that everybody uses food as a way to come together. We use food as a way to celebrate. We use food as a way to grieve. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but for somebody who's already in a fragile state, for somebody who already has maybe a negative or unbalanced relationship with food, or maybe they're just used to doing that, they're much more likely to now slip up and fall off for a lot longer. So that same person, maybe they had a lot of friends and family supporting them and saying, hey, let's go out and do all this stuff. And they had the best of intentions, but ultimately what was happening, and think about this for yourself as well. Like, I'm not going to do that with friends. I'm going to be an ear. I'm going to go take them out to do something fun, but it's not usually going to be food related, just because I know that, depending on who that friend is, that might not be the best thing for them in the long term. Yeah, that for that one night, for that 1 hour, they might make them, feel better about it. But I know that, hey, that's going to be a compounding effect tomorrow and the next week and stuff like that. But so anyway, so this person falls off for however long, and now the 30 pounds they lost has come back with a damn vengeance, and now they've gained 50 or 60 pounds. And now think about your mindset then. You're already sad for whatever all these reasons were. You at least had that 30-pound loss that is now completely erased. All that hard work that you worked your ass off to get, now not only are you back to square one, you are in a worse spot than where you were, and you also just went through a breakup or a death or whatever that case is. So now you took whatever that problem was and made it fucking huge. And now it seems like this mountain that you are at the bottom of, you started in the middle of it and you got to the top, and then boom, you're down way further than your original starting point. I don't have the energy. I want to climb that right now. I'm completely off my game. I'm not doing any of the right things. And then the average person who's allowed themselves to get in that, they're probably going to say screw it for not just the next month or a couple months. They might not revisit their lifestyle changes and their goals and their health for a year or a couple years or a decade, maybe not even ever. I think that there's enough people that will just, they tried it one time and it just didn't work out for them. So that's why, I circle back to our check-ins are so important. And don't feel like you're oversharing with me, because that's the piece that I need to know. I need to understand what's going on in your life that's negative, because it's all interrelated. All that stress is going to start affecting your sleep or your nutrition choices and stuff like that. And I can at least be here to hear you out, give you, that sympathy, empathy, whatever that with the word is that I'm looking for it there. Give you solutions, give you just, hey, let's simplify this week. You might think you need to show up next week, Sydney, like you said, with the all or nothing mindset. During this bad week and this bad happenings, you might think, I need to be perfect next week. And you're not going to be perfect. When times are really bad, none of us here are going to be perfect. So it's important to just say that, hey, there are things that we can do to simplify. I have one client right now, she didn't lose her job or anything. She's not dealing with any of the stuff we're talking about, but she's had some job change over the past couple of years, and her job right now is very, very stressful. She works a lot of overnights, and she's even been picking up day shifts as well. So she is really wrecking her circadian rhythm and her sleep. And I get it. It's for financial purposes. She's got a kid that she's raising, things like that. So she's got some of these difficulties. Fortunately, her job is a lot of walking. She gets a lot of exercise at this job. So I said, right now you are drowning essentially in all this stress and all these things you're trying to control. Stop working out. You get enough exercise, you get enough steps, You don't need to add on the stress. And she hasn't even been getting to the gym in the very first place, but she's been stressed about not getting to the gym. So that's just another piece of stress that's adding onto her plate. So I said, stop working out. I want you to just focus, Thriving Lives Kitchen, the meal planner. Lacey, you don't know what I'm talking about. Nick, Brian, I don't know if you saw that link that I sent you guys as well. So, I created something called Thriving Lives Kitchen. This is a way to give clients more variety in their meals. So essentially there's 7 breakfasts, 7 lunches, 7 dinners, a couple snacks on there as well. And I'm going to be adding to that over the course of time. Some of those meals will be revolving. So every month you'll have 21 different meals on there. And then some of those meals will be the same each month. Some of those will revolve and kind of change with it. It's just a $5 add-on subscription with it. It's probably not something you want to utilize at the very start of your program, but it's something that once you kind of get into the right rhythm, the right habits built and routines built, it's a very good thing to use for that variety and things like that. But kind of back to it though, I told her, hey, you already have the subscription. Go ahead and just start using these meals. Just all I want you to do is I don't want you to track your macros. I don't want you to worry about your calories. All I want you to do is pick the moderate carb meals, do 2 or 3 of those a day, and do a protein shake or 2 outside of that. So if you're going to do 2 meals, do 2 protein shakes with it during the day. If you're going to do 3 meals, just do 1 protein shake. And just keep it simple with that, or follow the meal plan, whatever it is that you want to do with it. But we need to find a way to simplify your life and give you very actionable things that you can sustainably do even during this tough time for you. And again, the only reason why that I was able to give her those solutions is because she was vulnerable. She opened up and expressed everything, that was going on. So kind of case in point here, just don't feel bad about that. I want you to use me for that so that we can, that's all part of this. So I think that's really all my kind of thoughts on it. Let's control the controllables, tread water during the worst of times, so that when you get to, that coming back to that person that lost 30 pounds, had the tough time go on, if they had, they're obviously not gonna be perfect during whatever that tough time was, but if they had continued to check in, if they'd continued to drink enough water, if they would have continued to honestly keep alcohol out, during the worst of times, maybe one time go out, but if you're somebody that's a slippery slope for you and you're going to start drinking more often, then just cut that shit out completely, because it's only making things worse, 99 times out of 100 with it. Focus on just basics when it comes to your nutrition. Hey, focus on just 2 healthy meals a day, things like that. Focus on trying to get 1 protein shake in. Focus on, let's just try to get 5,000 steps in. Whatever the case was, that person that lost 30 pounds would have just treaded water and just did the bare minimum of whatever their baseline kind of looks like in their life, they would have probably maintained that 30-pound loss. Maybe they would have gained 10 of it back, but regardless, it would have still been down 20 pounds once they got to the light at the end of the tunnel, once they got past the grieving, once they got past whatever. And that probably would have happened even faster, again, because they continue to invest in themselves even more. After a breakup, especially, that's the time to do some soul searching for yourself. That's the time to really do some reflecting. That's the time to really carve out a better version of yourself. Even if that breakup wasn't necessarily your fault, there's always shit that we could all do better. So go inward and really do a better job with that. So that's kind of my thoughts on how we handle, that type of stuff right there. Have somebody to talk to, tread water, control the controllables, and you'll be feeling good in no time and can get back, on your goals and stuff like that. Lacey, Nick, Brian, Sydney, any thoughts, any questions? I appreciate you guys listening to me just throw words at you for the past 30 minutes, but hopefully that some of that was good for you. Any thoughts or questions?
For me, like, I'm not going through any of those situations, but I am getting ready to go on vacation, and I know you did a talk about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I think of that, like, as long as I can do some of those bare minimum routine things that I do,
Yep.
like getting my steps, getting my water, making sure I'm hitting, some level of protein, like I'm not gonna mess up because of a week gone.
No, you're 100% right. If you can just tread water and just conquer a couple of those things, number one, you're gonna feel better about your efforts. Even if you come back and you're 5 pounds up, you're gonna know that, hey, at least I controlled, these handful of things, because shit, what would have been like if I hadn't controlled these things? But ultimately, probably not even gonna gain that either, though. And again, who cares if you really do? Ultimately, it's just control the controllables while you're there, smash it leading up to the trip. And then as soon as you get back home, like I said at the very start of this, is you got to prioritize that meal prep. So even though that's a good thing that you're doing, and it's not a super stressful thing that you're dealing with, you still got to come home and lock right back in with it. Same thing with, your wedding that's coming up. Right now, you don't have a whole lot going on, but you're also like, what is it, like 5 or 6 months out. So the closer you get to that, there's there's going to be a spike and more wedding showers and seeing friends and family and rehearsal dinner and the wedding itself and then honeymoon if you guys are doing that stuff, and all those things are huge. And that's when it's important to recognize these things are happening to me once in a lifetime. 4th of July, that might be your favorite holiday ever, but regardless, it's going to happen once a year. You're going to have 30 more of them. You're only going to have wedding ideally one time. You're only going to have one rehearsal dinner and things like that. So those situations, if you're controlling everything now leading up to that moment, you're controlling the meals in between. Who cares what you do during those times? That's when you don't track macros. That's when you don't care about whatever diet that you're on, and you completely embrace it and live in that and enjoy all those times. Because again, it's a fleeting moment that you really want to take advantage of and savor. But then it's important that, again, control the meals all in between all that stuff. Control your workouts and things like that. Control what makes you feel good, what it does help you relieve stress, and then lock right back in post wedding. Then you get right back into, okay, what is my routine that always keeps me feeling good? That's meal prep, that's planning out my week, that's getting my gym clothes ready, whatever that looks like for you. Do that stuff and just continue to lock back into that routine. Me coming into this is, again, it's not a bad thing, but I just left teaching. I went on vacation, came back home last week, and now it's weird for me because usually I'm like, okay, I have 11 Mondays of my summer break before I go back to teaching. Well, I don't have that now. So now I'm really trying to cultivate what is my new routine going to be like. And even though it's kind of all up in the air right now, I don't know what's going on. There are still X, Y, and Z. There are 1, 2, and 3, and 4 different things that I know that I'm going to do no matter what. It might not happen in the most optimal time frame, but I'm going to get it all done. I'm going to meal prep. I'm going to have my supplements in check. I'm going to get my workouts in. Right now I'm going to try to do morning workouts right now. Do I like that more? Do I want to go in the afternoon? Whatever the case is, we've got to be always trying to find whatever our new routine is going to be, even if it's only for a week at a time. What does your new routine look like for you? Sydney, with you being home from teaching this summer, you've got to have your school year routine, and then you've got to have your summer routine. And then you got to lock back into that summer routine when it's winter break and when it's spring break. Even though those are only a couple weeks or a week at a time, you've got to kind of be firing on all cylinders, at least when it comes to some of this healthy stuff that we're talking about. Anyway, though, Sydney, I appreciate your input. Lacey.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate, I definitely appreciate it. But anyway, guys, yeah, Lacey.
Sorry if that was all noisy. I can't tell if I was muted or unmuted all that time.
You were muted the whole time.
Good, because my kiddo got in the car and had lots to tell me about guitar and the snow cone stand. So I was hoping fun with her and all that.
You should have been muted. I would have loved to hear about all that stuff.
So I am about to jump off, but I have appreciated it. I have plenty to add there on all that, because if I don't plan ahead and meal prep, then my week just doesn't quite go as it needs to go with 4 kids and work and running everybody where they need to go. So I usually just
You're right.
make some time to make it happen, because
Exactly.
Otherwise it's going to be a mess.
If you don't make it happen, then you're living on survival mode, especially with a handful of kids running around and stuff like that. But I appreciate you being here, Lacey. I know that was kind of short notice when I sent you that Zoom link, so I appreciate you being here. And I'll text you and we'll touch base soon.
Absolutely, we'll plan our next connect. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Hey, you too. Sydney, Nick, Brian, anything else you guys want to add, or questions about this or anything else that you guys got on your mind at the moment?
What was the link for the food you were talking about?
Oh, the Thriving Lives Kitchen?
Yeah.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure I sent it to you guys when I first sent you guys the intro message there on the app. And if
Is it Thrive 3 Alive Kitchen?
Oh no, here it is. So if you go to your messages in the app that I sent you, it's like the second message down. So you'll see a big link there that says Thriving Kitchen monthly macro friendly meal planner subscription.
Oh, okay.
And so that one right there, that's like the initial one, the first edition that I kind of put out. Actually, no, that's the link to it. Above that, you would have to copy and paste. I'll just send it to you guys over text so you can see what I'm talking about. That initial trial edition comes with like 15 meals on it, but it's just something you can number one, you can utilize it. Like I said, that would be something for you guys to utilize on the weekends, since you guys are using that meal prep service. that'd be something you guys to maybe lock into on the weekends, or just give you more ideas. You know, so like if you guys saw like the high, the moderate, the low carb plans that I put together for you, that food is great. You definitely want to use seasonings and sauces and stuff like that to kind of spruce it up a little bit. But you know, once you've been doing that for a few months, you want some variety with it. So, you know, you can always swap out your proteins, your carbs and stuff like that. But then you can also go look at that Thriving Lives Kitchen meal planner to see other types of meals that you could possibly be having. Sometimes it's kind of hard to think outside the box because you don't want to go too far away from your plan that now you're not hitting your right numbers or hitting, you know, the right amount of calories and stuff like that. So that's another thing you can use. But I'll text you guys the link to your phone just to make it a little bit easier.
Okay, thanks.
Of course, of course. Well, anyway, Mom, I see you just got on here. We are actually about to log off, but I talked to you today anyway, though. So anyway, though, tomorrow is check-in day. So Nick, Brian, Sydney, and Mama, I will see you guys at check-in day tomorrow. And yeah, let's have a great rest of our week and a great weekend ahead. And I will talk to you guys next week.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here, guys.